All right, standing with me today is Shelby County Fire Department Battalion Chief Jeremy Hadlick. He won't be able to offer comments today. I think he's having some vocal issues, but I'll try to respond to as many questions as I possibly can. Well, good evening. At approximately 8:15 p.m., the Shelby County Sheriff's Office responded to a drowning call at 4630 Hansberry Drive at the Southland Lake Apartments in southeast Shelby County regarding two children, ages 7 and 12, who had fallen in an icy pond. Several deputies arrived on the scene within minutes. Without hesitation, they entered the frozen water to rescue the children. Deputies were able to pull both children from the pond and immediately began life-saving measures until the Shelby County Fire Department arrived and took over medical care. Both children were transported to Baptist Pediatric Hospital. One child was transported in non-critical condition. The second child was transported in extremely critical condition. One of our deputies was also transported to Regional 1 after sustaining a weather-related injury during the rescue. I want to be very clear. This action tonight, taken by our deputies, was heroic. They did not stop to think about the danger to themselves. They acted immediately to save the lives of two children. That is the kind of courage and selflessness our deputies demonstrate every single day. Right now, our thoughts and prayers are with both the children and their families, especially the child who remains in critical condition, as well as our deputy who was injured while helping to save a life. I also want to take a moment to address public safety. We urge parents, guardians, and caregivers to exercise extreme caution during freezing weather. Bodies of water that may appear to be frozen can be extremely dangerous. Ice can give way without warning. Children should never play on or near ponds, lakes, or any body of water that appears frozen. What may look safe can become deadly in a matter of seconds. Preliminary information suggests that the children were walking on what appeared to be a frozen pond when the ice broke. This incident remains under investigation, and I want to take this opportunity to once again thank not only the deputies who raced into danger, risking their own lives to save the lives of these two children, but I also want to thank the firemen, the paramedics, who also responded to the scene and did whatever they could do to save these children's lives. And I think because of the combination between what the deputies did on the scene and also what the fire department did once they arrived, saved these children's lives. Now, as I said, one child is in the hospital in non-critical condition, while a second child is still fighting for his life. That family, as you can imagine, is praying for the best outcome possible. We also ask the community to join this family in prayer. But we also want to remind the community again, we understand that for the past several days, due to inclement weather in our community, a lot of children have been inside of the homes, perhaps bored out of their minds, and now they are starting to get out and test the water, if you will. And so what we have learned tonight is that these two children were walking on what they thought was a frozen solid pond. And after minutes, their weight broke the ice and they fell in. And what I'm afraid of is in our community, more of these stories can happen. More of these incidents could be brewing. So now's the time for us parents to have these conversations with our children about water safety. It only takes seconds to be overcome by frozen temperatures if you enter the water. It only takes seconds for your clothing to become saturated with water, which can pull you down or hold you underwater. So again, we understand that icy bodies of water can be tempting for children, it can be enticing, but it's also dangerous. So again, I urge the public to have the conversation with children about the dangers of icy ponds or icy bodies of water during this time of the year. And with that, I'll take your questions.
Chief Buckner, any idea how long the kids were in the water?
So we received a call at around 8:15 p.m. and our first deputy had arrived on the scene around 8:19. So we know for certain at least 3 minutes, but we don't know how long before we received the 911 call the children had been under the water.
Is it the younger child or the older child in critical condition?
The 7-year-old child remains in extremely critical condition at this time.
Are the boys related?
Yes, they're brothers.
Was it the family that made the call?
So right now, what our investigation has revealed is that the sister of these 2 boys saw them fall into the pond, phoned the mother, who then began to call us, along with other residents in the apartment complex, began to dial 911. Thankfully, we had deputies that were nearby who raced to the scene, and once they arrived, they raced into the water to save these children.
Did they have to dive in? Is it deep water or is it like a little for show pond or a real full-on 7 or 8 foot deep?
Yeah, so what I can tell you is that this pond is in an apartment complex, and it was deep enough for the children to be submerged in the water. And so they literally raced into the water, not worried about their own safety, not worried about the frigid temperatures of the water, but they were worried about getting these 2 children out. And once they were able to retrieve these children, they began CPR on one child and other life-saving measures on the other child.
What can you tell us about the deputy's injury?
So the deputy's injury is water-related, and I'll frame it as that.
Is it hypothermia?
Well, again, we'll frame it as water-related injuries. I don't want to get too far into any kind of medical statuses or anything like that. But what I will tell you is that, again, thankful to the fire department, they treated the deputy on the scene, but then also recognized that the deputy also needed to be transferred to the hospital for additional care.
Any idea when the last time you guys answered a call, whether it's the deputies or the fire department, when the last time you guys ran a call like this?
So, we don't have that, obviously in front of us.
Okay.
But I can tell you is that this is one of our greatest fears whenever we have these type of weather conditions in our community. We fear whether it's kids who are injured because of sledding, or whether it's kids that are going to walk or be tempted to walk onto an icy pond or body of water. This is one of our greatest fears when we come out of what we have termed as inclement weather conditions. And so again, that's why we found it important tonight to call a press conference to sound the alarm to the public, like, hey, as children are going to be getting out more and more over the next couple of days, this weekend, please have this conversation with your child about avoiding bodies of water, even though they may appear to be frozen.
Because this happened in
We let someone ask a question if you don't mind.
How long did it take for you guys to get them out of the water once you arrived on the scene?
It only took seconds or minutes to get them out. Again, the greatest search, or the greatest issue was when deputies arrived on the scene. It was low light conditions, it was dark, and so they had to locate the children, and once then, they had to try to battle through the frigid water, battle through their own clothing being weighted down now by water to get them to the shore. And then once they got them out of the water, that's when they could begin to do things that they felt were right to save these children's lives.
And in terms of saving measures, were there any CPR or any of that?
They did perform CPR on one child until the fire department arrived on the scene and to take over patient care.
And was that on the younger child or was that on the older child?
It was on the younger child, but then the older child also required treatment on the scene as well, and then later required to be transported to the hospital.
Any questions?
I guess for something like this, this weather is new for really so many people. Is there anything you guys are going to take away from this incident if it does happen again? Maybe you guys could look at something differently. It sounds like you did a great job, but anything you guys may have taken away from this incident tonight?
Well, one of the things that we'll do is we anticipate that, next year we'll face some of the same type of weather, most likely. This is something that's seemed to be an annual event for us. And so now, I guess we find it important on the front end to talk about dangers such as this, so that on the back end, we won't have these kind of conditions. And again, the media has been a great partner in us getting messages out in terms of how to drive under these conditions, or to stay off the roadways. You guys have been a great partner in doing that. And I think that next year you guys will be a great partner in helping us on the front end get these types of education pieces out. So again, at 11 o'clock at night, we came here to go to the public to say, hey, listen, tomorrow we want to make sure that parents are having these conversations. We don't want to have another incident. Any other questions?
I was just gonna ask one more, which was about, it just seems eerily similar to what happened in Texas, and it was 3 brothers, and none of those boys made it. And I wanna say that was on Monday. Did you see that on the news? 3 brothers fell in a pond. They all didn't make it.
Yes, and so, again, we're still praying for the child that's fighting for his life. But I spoke of this a few months ago. I think between the deputies arriving pretty quickly, without hesitation, entering the water, pulling these kids out, the fire department arriving on the scene and performing life-saving measures. I think all of these things working together gives us a different story, fortunately for our community, but more importantly for the families. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.